real. This is Merge, this is Van Spence. This is a guy whose science is absolutely superb and needs to be backed as much as possible. He's having grants turned down by the MRC. That's not on, because he's a top-class scientist and this is a top-class team. This is the SF36, well, you've probably read about this, some of you. This is a form that allows you to assess the general overall health status of people. It's all questionnaires. No one's examining anybody, asking you questions, you're getting your answers. And it has 8 parameters. What is it gone? Just quit on me. No, it's there. Physical functioning, social functioning, role limitations, RE, role limitation, emotional problems, mental health, vitality, pain, and general health. So this is an assessment right across the board. These are the control people. Very few people score 100%. That would be absolutely perfect, and none of that. But they're better along around about the 80 level. What they did was to compare 3 groups. The ME people are in red. There you go. And you can see here that ME people are batting along around about 30 on average, except for these 2 points, which is emotional and mental health, incidentally, which is just about normal. So this is the evidence that you're actually normal after all, really. So it's a double insult, really, to start trying to lay on you a mental illness when your mental behaviour and assessment under these tests are coming out very close to the normal range. Now, the other group are the organophosphate poison farmers, and they sink and run along round about 40, 50 on average. The last group, the most ill group, the sickest of all, were the Gulf War veterans, batting along around about 20 to 30. That's an assessment of their general health by questionnaire. It's not anything more than that. The line I put across there, I've forgotten about it just now, is a line that Wesley drew across here to help him to distinguish between Gulf War veterans who were healthy, above 70, ill, below 70. But the problem you've got is that a lot of ill illnesses score less than 70. Heart failures, diabetes, recent MI, myocardial infarctions, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, depression, all come out below 70. So that they would all be in there. They'd be part of the rag bag. And in one paper just published in 2003, Wesley was unable to distinguish between sick and well Gulf veterans in connection with the paraoxynase test. So that shows you how the problem is it's a non-specific assessment. It's helpful, but it's non-specific. It doesn't tell you, you've got to just bear that in mind. This is Van Spence again at Dundee. These are mediators of inflammation in the endothelium, the cells lining the blood vessels, all blood vessels. The isoprostanes are the products of an inflammatory process. The oxidative low-density lipids are also, oxidized low-density lipids are also parts of that inflammatory process. If these go up, you've got an inflammatory condition. If they go down, well, what usually happens, they work in pairs. The oxidative low-density lipids go up, the high-density lipids, if they're good guys, come down. The isoprostanes go up, and the glutathione, which is the way of handling inflammation in the body, also goes down, depleted. So you've got here a balancing set of factors which look at they were looking at in these 4 different groups. Now if you look at ME/CFS across here, you can see all of these are all significantly different from patients from controls. HDL is down, LDL is up, GSH is down, isoprostanes are up. At significant levels. So that's good science coming up with a fairly clear answer. Look at OP patients, just here, a little tiny bit. Gulf veterans, nothing at all. So everybody's not the same. Gulf War veterans are not the same as OP poison farmers, are not the same as ME patients. And that's a very helpful and discriminating piece of work. They also looked at blood flow through the capillary skin bed in response to acetylcholine, which is a neural mediator in the autonomic nervous system especially, but in other parts of the body as well. Patients with ME/CFS had an enhanced response to acetylcholine. This was exclusively a test which identified ME patients. Fibromyalgia patients didn't have it. Gulf War veterans didn't have it. patients with Gulf syndrome are not sensitive in this way. Patients with Gulf syndrome have similar blood flows to OP patients. So this is two sets of characteristics which distinguish ME patients from other people who are sick with the same constellation of symptoms, but it's a different underlying etiology, basis for the disease. This is where we came in. How am I doing for time?
25 past.
Too slow. I don't want to rush it, but I think this is important. We looked at people using a test for gut permeability, called the IAG test. I'll just mention it briefly in a moment. And we, from that, we identified a common pattern of shared biochemical deficits. And this is between OPs, MCS, CFS, autism, because that's where the test came from, organochlorines, which is things like lindane and DDT, Gulf syndrome. You can add lots of other things in there. That common pattern is associated with toxins derived from the food, casein and gluten, tryptophan metabolism. That's why SSRIs, the Prozac, is not helping you, because there's a big problem with tryptophan metabolism and function. Sulfur metabolism, which is to do with sulfate and detoxification mechanisms, hormone storage and balance, and to do with steroids particularly, and the way they're used and stored in the body. Lipid metabolism involving omega-3, omega-6 oils. Do you know about omega-3s? Right, some people are nodding. Yeah, omega-3s are fish oils, and apart from flax, which also has some in, but I've got some nutritionists breathing down my neck, so I have to be careful what I say. Omega-6, which the classic one of that is in primrose oil. Now, those seem to be very important in the body's defence and in nerve function and brain function. So, who's taking fish oils and who's finding them helpful? Right, well, yeah, you will do, because you have to pay for these things, don't you? So, that's something that's turning up in autism as well as being very helpful. So, nerve function, central, the brain function, seems to have benefit a lot from that. This is just very briefly the results we've got. Thousands of cases of autism, hundreds of cases of ME, hundreds of Gulf War syndrome, about tens of OP poisoned people, MCS about 10, in the tens, 30s, 40s. And most of the time these people have very high levels of this IAG, which is still being developed. The symptomology is shared. The IAG indicates a shared set of biochemical deficits, including metabolism, sulfur and methionine cycles, and vitamins like B12 and B6. Anyone get B12 injections? Do you find them helpful? Right. Right. It's important that we get these doses right, and most clinicians are directed by the sort of recommended daily allowance of these things, which is far too low. Fatty acids, we've mentioned. Immunology. This is a tryptophan story. IAG is a metabolite in urine. You can measure it in urine. It costs you 60 quid to have the test done if you want to do it. This is the chromatogram of urine. This is gold standard urine from Paul Shattuck. And in this region above around about 20 over here, top end, there is very little indicated from the. It's detecting compounds at the present. This is Jamie Shattuck, his son, who's autistic, and just by comparing these above 20, you can see these huge peaks coming up. That's the IAG peak, and that's the mark.